The course creator, he sells ebooks and makes roughly $2,000 monthly from his course sales. Do you know where he hosts his courses, ebooks, and digital products? Seller. He even built sales pages with Seller Page Builder. Now this is Alona. She's a freelance corporate and she has customers in the UK and USA. She even gets paid at least $1,000 for her services and gets the platform she processes her payment with. Seller. Now this is Kwame. He is an affiliate marketer and actively promotes Aluna's course using the swift and easy to use affiliate marketing feature on Seller. In fact, he just joined the affiliate network where he has access to thousands of courses he can promote. Why aren't you selling on Seller? Everyone is selling on Seller, but you. Sign up on Seller today.
When life gives you lemons, create an online course on how to make lemonade and sell it on Seller. This lemonade name sweet self.
Hey Siri, how do I make money as a digital creator? How can I make money from my creativity? What's the best course hosting platform in Africa?
To do that, you'll need to be online.
Alright, I'm online. What's next? Everyone has a story to tell. The difference is in how we tell them. As a creator, you tell your stories with the content you create. Our job is to give you a platform to monetize your content. So the next time you think about digital products, think Seller. Get started for free on seller.co today.
99 problems. Hosting courses shouldn't be one. On Seller, you can host up to 10 courses and get unlimited video storage. Visit our website at seller.co/courses to get started today. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Okay. Welcome to our webinar, The Digital Economy and the Future of Work in Africa. We're really excited to have all of you here today. If you can hear me, please just type on the comment so that I know that you can hear me. My name is Treasure Query, and I'm a content marketer at Seller. And today I am going to be speaking with a number of amazing individuals. I'm going to be speaking with Douglas Kendyson, the founder of Seller.co. I'm going to be speaking with Benjamin Dada, a media and tech personnel. I'm going to be speaking with Solomon Ayodele, the technology and innovation head in Wema Bank. I'm going to be speaking with Yai Haddy, also known as Process Toolbox, and Senior Man Oe, content creator on Instagram. We're going to be speaking about work. We're going to be speaking about the creator economy, and it's going to be a very insightful session. So sit tight, grab a notebook, grab a pen, and let's dig into the conversation of today. Really excited to be doing this, and we thank our sponsors, Wema Bank, for partnering with us to do this today. So yeah, let's just get into the conversation. Hi everyone, it's really nice to have you here. I'm just going to go in and ask everyone how we're feeling today. Hi Douglas, hi Solomon, hi Benjamin, hi Yai, hi Oe.
Hi.
Hi, it's been raining all day in Lagos. I don't know what's happening. But I'm feeling good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and my friend was saying earlier that the thunder has been so much these days. I don't know if anyone can relate with that. Like it just feels like it's
Just all
really
day
bad.
today.
Yes. But I really hope we feel good despite how
Yeah.
poor the weather is. Um so yeah, we're just going to get right into the conversation. So I'm going to start with Douglas. I have a series of questions we're going to ask everyone. These questions are going to be tailored to what you do professionally because we need to like figure out how can we make the digital economy work for creators in Africa. It's a conversation that really matters to us because our future is in our hands. Really, we can't really rely on the government. So as entrepreneurs and creators, we have to improve the opportunities that are at our disposal. So I'm going to start with Douglas. Douglas, Seller recently released a report on the creator economy and the future of work. Could you share more insights on that report that highlights how the landscape is changing in Africa, especially for creators?
Definitely, sure. Before I go to that, I just want to say that interestingly, we have a new Minister of Creative Economy. I read her 8 point agenda. It was very hopeful. She talked about leveraging, and this is just an aside because you mentioned government, and I mean, I know that we're not very hopeful, but I mean, I'm very curious to see what that looks like for us. She talked about creating a lot of enabling environment and infrastructure that makes because I was like reading about it yesterday, that hopefully should make life better for us. So very curious to see what that looks like. But just going back to the report, so I think one of the key takeaways is that we segregated a lot of the creators into four main categories: bloggers, YouTubers, social media influencers, and digital product creators. And we see that three in roughly five of those are selling digital products, which is good. But I think more importantly, we see a lot of people, especially like YouTubers, hiring people. We also see more creators employing labor, even not even, it doesn't always have to be full time, but also just part time. And we think this is really the future of work for a lot of people. We see a lot of creators employing like digital skill workers, and I think Seller plays a big role in this because one of the things that's important for us is just making it easy for more people to reach a bigger audience. And the good thing is with a lot of creators on our platform, they sell faster, they reach a bigger audience, and they're able to collect their payments smoothly. So those are the things that I guess are most important to us today.
Okay. Thank you so much for that, Douglas. I'm actually really excited as well to see what her take on the creator economy is going to look like for the next 4 years for us. Benjamin, good afternoon. Very lovely speaking with you. So I wanted to ask, as a digital media founder, the idea of digital media or digital creation has evolved over the years. Initially, for instance, with videos, we didn't have YouTube, and then we had YouTube, and then people started posting content on YouTube. So the way we consume content keeps changing, right? At some point, long form content was the in thing. Now, social media platforms are prioritizing reels and short form content because people's attention span seems to like be like shrinking in a way. So I wanted to ask, with your job as a digital media founder, right? How has the role of digital creation changed or transformed during the years, and what opportunities and challenges does that present for creators in Africa?
Oh, nice. Thank you for that question. Hi, everyone. Once again, I'm happy to be here on this panel. Okay, so how has digital creation changed over the years? Well, sadly, or I'm happy to announce that many people are getting old, right? So what that means is 2005, YouTube was founded. People that were born before 2005, are the ones that felt the impact of YouTube coming to change how things are now being done. But for the rest of us that are probably 90s babies, we've lived with YouTube, we've grown with YouTube. So like it doesn't feel like there has been like a tectonic shift in that video or like live streaming consumption. However, when you come into the world of, okay, now we've gone through YouTube, we've gone through social media, because YouTube, Facebook, 2004, 2005, and then we're in the part of what we call Web 2.0, Web 3, everybody is now empowered to be a creator. So if you're a traditional media player, you were benefiting from Web 1.0, where the media party is the only producer of content. So, for instance, if you're watching TV, the newscaster can speak to you. You can't speak back to the newscaster. But what Web 2.0 does is that the newscaster is tweeting, you're replying. So that's what they call bass bows. If you give me bass, I'll give you bows. And what that has done is empowered a bunch of people to now become creators. And for media companies, there is now more competition for owning the customer or owning an audience, right? So what's happening is, if you used to run a media company, you're probably weighing, why don't I go solo? Back in the day, before like the whole advent of being a creator, it was very hard to go solo. Most of the advertising channels are like out of homes. You have to do a billboard. Those things are expensive. But now the ability and the platforms to create content and distribute your content has become more affordable. So I've seen a lot more people come into this space to become content creators. And for me, that's how I sort of started. So I started out as a journalist for a platform. And I'm like, well, I already have like my own blog. I already have my own Medium account. Why don't I just go and do my own thing instead of, quote unquote, renting another platform and stuff like that. So what I'd say is we'll continue to see people leverage the fact that, now everyone, or the tools and infrastructure that is required to create content, either written, YouTube, or audio visual, is becoming more affordable, right, and more accessible. So I can buy a ring light. I don't need to have a studio light. I can buy a Rode mic. I don't need to have like a big mic or something. And I can set up my green screen in my room, and I don't need to go into a studio. So all of that is becoming more affordable. So we're seeing people take advantage of that. In terms of what we see our own audience do, because right now we still focus very heavily on written content, we think that's not going to change over the long run. However, I think there's a place for a diversification of content, and there's a place for tailoring the content channel to the type of consumer on your platform. So, all of that just makes this whole space very interesting and exciting. New competitors, even the established players too, are looking to innovate, but we're lucky that we can innovate faster than them. But yes, it's an interesting one. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. That was really, really insightful. I really liked what you said about how the new challenge is trying to tailor the content to the consumer. I think that's really, really key. I wanted to ask OA. Hi, OA. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay. So I wanted to ask, as a content creator, right, in your line of work, how has the digital creator economy and its development changed the way you monetize your content and the way you create your content?
Hello, guys. Um, yeah, I mean, I started out with with text-based content on Twitter. I created content on Twitter for a while before diversifying into video form content. Um, with the advent of TikTok, most brands, people, and other social media also try to switch into short form videos. That was when TikTok came out, was when Instagram created Instagram Reels. Twitter also tries to come on board. Even YouTube created Shorts, I think it's called, yeah. So everybody tried to get in on that because for some reason, like I think you or Ben mentioned earlier, people's attention span is kind of limited. And I don't blame them because there is a lot to consume. So you have to get out there, show your thing, and make sure that everybody's invested, people are involved. So to answer your question, simply to monetize more, you have to have some form of image presence or video or something online, in the sense that the same content that you create for Instagram, you can repurpose it for YouTube Shorts, you can repurpose it for TikTok, you can repurpose it for almost any other platform. Meanwhile, if you are just focusing on text-based content, it limits the impact you can have on multiple platforms, which then limits the type of revenue you can get in return because you are not going to be able to monetize other platforms. So I feel like with the advent of what's it called now? The advent of digital. What was the question again?
with the development of the digital economy. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So that led me, and I think a lot of people, into creating video content, even though they might not be interested, even though it wasn't what they started out with, because that's what the market was demanding. In any area of life to succeed, you have to do what the market wants.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Solomon, good evening. I wanted to ask, so you work with Wema Bank, right? So from a perspective of a bank that deals with financial technology and innovation, how have the financial aspects, how is it changing? How is it developing as well? I'm pretty sure they would have been like the way the digital economy is developing is also transforming the way we transact with money. So can you like share from your perspective what that looks like?
Absolutely. I would say that one of the interesting things we've seen in the past months, it's the fact that financial institutions are beginning to realize the robustness of the creators economy, right? I recall that, I mean, I actively started banking about 9 years ago. And in those days when we shout about, oh, these guys creating content, the guys on Instagram, the in quotes, even the aspire to perspire guys, right? In those days, bank executives weren't paying attention, right? What I've then seen now is that a lot of banks are beginning to create portfolios. They are beginning to create product pipeline around the creators economy. The bank is heavily invested, in that space, and because there's a lot of funds going in and out, right? So, for example, you see a lot of banks beginning to invest in escrow solutions, right? Beginning to invest in cross-border payments because generally we have now seen that even the creators economy, the creators ecosystem is beginning to help with FDIs, right? A lot of FX inflows are now coming into the country through this, right? I just left Aso Rock about 3 hours ago, where Wema Bank launched a solution in partnership with the Office of the Vice President, right, around skill innovation, where we want to train people around. And interestingly, Bosun and the Minister of Arts and the economy or something, she was in the room, and I mean, all of the conversation is around saying banks, financial institutions, then need to step up around how they support. So you will see that in the coming days, you will see banks beginning to offer creators facilities, right? Because they know how much of inflow comes into the account. You will see banks beginning to build a lot of payment infrastructures that would help, these guys taking money, sending money. You will see a lot of banks beginning to invest in things like insurance for creators, health plan for creators, all of those things, right? So I would say, just as it is, regulation will always run after innovation. This is what a lot of banks and financial servicing industries are doing now, around the creators economy.
I like the last thing you said, regulation will always run after innovation. And I'm looking forward to what those changes would look like in the coming months. Thank you so much for that, Solomon. So, Yai, hi. I feel like your position is really interesting because you stay in the precipice between business and content creation because you're a content creator and you're also a business strategist, right? And I feel like that gives you a lot of insights and strategies into how creators can effectively monetize their content. I was hoping if you could please share some of these strategies and these insights with us.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Trisha. And hi, everyone. Can you hear me properly?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So what I'll say about that is I'll always say creators need to lean into the Mount Rushmore of digital monetization. That's what I call it. So that means they need to lean in on storytelling, they need to lean in on launching, and they need to lean in on content range. So I'm going to explain each one of them. What I mean by storytelling is we're talking about the African digital economy, right? And most of us, our audience consists of African youths. And currently in 2023, what we are experiencing is that African youths are going through a lot of financial struggles. They're going through a lot of societal pressures. So that means that when they log in on Instagram, even if you're trying to sell to them, when they log in, what they want is to get away from those problems. So when they log in for that 30 minutes, 20 minutes, or 1 hour that they're on, all they want is to feel good. So they need something. And what storytelling does, it induces dopamine. So we all know dopamine is a feel good, something. So that's what they need. So no matter what you're selling, you have to infuse storytelling in there, no matter whatever you're selling. And I see Owe in here, and I think he does that really, really well. There's no video of his that I walk past that I don't stop and listen, because he does that really, really well, right? So if you're selling something, infuse storytelling, that's what I would say. Another thing is launching. So now we are talking about the audience, but let's talk about us creators. To be a digital creator now, there's a low barrier to entry. Anybody can open an Instagram page and just, be a coach or whatever they want to call themselves, right? That means competition is really, really high. So most of us, we get derailed or we get demotivated because you're seeing everybody doing well. You're like, oh, I had this idea, I've logged in, somebody else has done it. Or I wanted to do this, somebody else has done it. So how launching helps is that it helps you look forward to something. There's something, either you're launching something new or you are relaunching. It helps you look forward to something. So you're motivated. Also, your audience get curious, And then finally, content range. I would say, you've said it, everybody knows that, attention span have gone low. Also, people get bored now easily. So you need to have range for your content. So those are the 3 things that I think people should work on to monetize.
I think that's so succinct. Storytelling, launching, and content range. I was wondering if you could go a little bit deeper into content range and what you mean. Do you mean that we should all be generalists, or if you are a lifestyle creator, you should look into other forms of content? I was just hoping you could explore more on that.
Absolutely. What I mean by is different formats, right? I always like to use this analogy and say, if you watch your favorite TV show, so mine used to be Power, and then you have these characters. Sometimes when they show up, they are not like the most nicest of people, but we love them. We talk about them online. We're always going on battle for them because it's long form content. That means we tune in every single day to see these people. We know about them. We know about their lives. So we're invested. So as a creator, you need to have long form content, right? And then you can have the short form one because of attention span. You can have a podcast. Sometimes people just want to hear you. When they listen to you, it also builds another form of connection. So that's what I would say. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. Okay, I'll go back to Douglas. Douglas, in your 6 years of building Seller, I'm pretty sure the way creators sell and monetize their content has evolved. So how has the demand for digital products and services evolved? And how what has Seller's role been in this evolution?
I think in talking about this, it will be best to use numbers. And I'm really trying not to make it a numbers thing, but I think it'd be best to use numbers. In terms of how it has evolved, I think in 2016, 2017, we had people selling music. And then that used to be our biggest selling category. And then as streaming obviously rose a lot more, that had to die. And then more people had to sell other things. And maybe artists had started selling merch if they could, or doing or selling events to tickets. Now in terms of general things, we've also seen there's been a lot of sales of ebooks. There's been a rise in coaching services, especially just as COVID came and then we also have events. Events used to be physical, trainings used to be physical, and then now it's a lot more digital. And then we have memberships. I think memberships is something that a lot of people do not take advantage of. I don't think building a membership is easy, because building a membership is like selling a subscription, and that is hard. But a lot of international creators do that with Patreon, and we've been trying to, and creators on our platform can do that with our memberships. I think one of the funniest things that people don't realize is, provided you can give good value, people could try to pay for your memberships. We have people sell memberships to their communities. We have someone sell a membership to a marketing community, another sell a membership to I think one of my favorite memberships is Wife in Waiting. memberships. I love bringing that example up because people just don't think it's something that people will pay for, but people pay for that monthly, international and also local. We also see a lot of people pay memberships to like different marketing communities. And then lastly, I think just to give people an idea in terms of like numbers, what this looks like. I mean, I know this is also a function of like how much people that we've reached, but also just a function of how much the market has grown. In 2017, 2018, maybe the total revenue sales on Seller was maybe like 6 million or so. In about 2019, I think 2019 it was like 6 million. 2020 it was like 100 million. 2021 it was like 100. It was 1 billion, and in 2022 it was almost 2 billion. And that's really just how much the market is growing, and we're reaching like more people, and everyone is taking advantage of like this new unit, and everybody's tapping into it, whether you're like writing ebooks, whether you're making courses, whether you're making trainings, whether you're a coach, and different like kind of things that people keep like monetizing today. And I think that's just how beautiful. We're excited to see this market grow for a lot of like African and Nigerian creators today.
Thank you so much, Douglas. I think the numbers are important because they show value as well, right? So we can see how astronomical the growth has been. It also shows the importance of the economy because it's like a gold mine, and we need to take advantage of it and have these conversations while we're young so that we know how to leverage on the growth as we proceed. So thank you so much for sharing that. Benjamin, I wanted to ask, especially with your experience in digital media, what is the importance of collaborations and partnerships as digital creators?
Okay, I feel like that answer can come across as obvious. So the key benefit of collaboration is like access to another person's audience segment, or access to another person's audience in terms of total count. So what does that mean? If I do a collaboration with OA, for instance, people see me mostly for tech, right? If I do OA, I might get into lifestyle. So I'm reaching people that care about lifestyle content, and hopefully they can start reaching out to me or checking out my stuff on lifestyle. So I did one with Habib. Habib runs Smiley Socks. That's in fashion, right? And that collaboration was just because I also care about fashion. I want to do stuff in that area. So collaboration, in a sense, helps you to get access to another person's audience segment. You can do collaboration within your industry, right? So who would be a written content person? So maybe if I do with like Tage of TechCrunch, right, and we collaborate on something, yes, that will be fine. So that might just give access to a bigger pool in terms of count, number of people that will join. So if I can bring 1K people, he can bring 1K people. By the time we do an event together, we'll probably bring 1.5 instead of 2K, because our audiences are mostly intertwined and stuff like that. So collaboration does those two things for people. And I think, one of the best ways or easiest ways to get a collaboration done is to have shown and proved yourself on your own. Artists do things like, oh, I want to release singles, I want to release maybe an album where I don't feature anybody. I want to do things that can stand on their own first. That way I begin to attract people, and I begin to come to the table with better value, and it's not as if someone is helping me or throwing me a bone, right? So I'd say if you're a new creator or if you're just starting out, don't rush to be looking for collaboration. Try to build something, have a foundation, have a fan base, have something that is already going for you, and then you start reaching out to people, and then it's a bit more it's smoother that way, because at the end of the day, everybody's looking for someone that can add value to them, not necessarily take from them. So that's what I'd say about it. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for that. I was actually hoping you'd also touch on companies partnering, because I feel like for me, I've been really interested in collaboration that is not just individual, but as a collective. So for instance, now we're doing this webinar in partnership with Wema Bank, and I feel like it benefits the economy. And then another partnership that really resonated with me recently was that of Childec and Chicken Republic. I'm pretty sure it had a very huge value to their numbers. I think they announced their numbers increasing astronomically a while back. So I wanted you to talk on like why more companies should like collaborate with each other and the importance of that as well.
Yeah, okay. So I think that framework for collaboration will still apply. So if you look at Wema Bank and you look at Seller, the collaboration helps to cross carpet audiences, and that segmenting I spoke about. So if you look at Wema Bank, you're probably thinking about, is a banking institution, Seller is a creator platform, right? So when they work together, you're thinking about banking for creators, right? Or you're thinking about how do I get as Wema Bank, how do I get more creators to come and bank with me, right? So in that sense, collaboration helps with that cross carpeting of an audience segment. One thing I'd say that people mix up a bunch of times is calling some partnerships, right, referring to sales as partnerships. It's confusing for everybody involved, right? If I sell my service to somebody and somebody uses my service, I would not put that on the same level as both of us come together to produce something, or both of us come together to do something, right? So in the industry, many people like to, because the name partnership makes it sound very nice, but like, if somebody purchases, let me give you an example. If I am, let's call a fictitious name, child X, right? If I'm child X, and then what I do is I deliver food to people, and I partner with Meat Republic, right? If I partner with Meat Republic and Meat Republic is using me to deliver food, that's not a that's not a partnership in that sense, right? But it can be a partnership if, for instance, it becomes exclusive and another why cannot now come into that thing. So that strategic, collaboration or partnership can then be, but most times I've seen people just try to play around and play smart with what the word partnership and sales really means. So collaboration for me is like two people stand alone, they have their own value points. When they come together, they can create something even bigger, reach more people, and do just interesting things. So yes, brands can partner. The thing is, it might be harder for brands because of the hierarchy of bureaucracy, right? You need to get sign off. You need to, but if it's like, I don't know, Yai or OA or someone that wants to do something together, individuals, they're probably the ultimate line of command. Maybe you have a manager, but you still tell the manager what to do. But in a company, you have to go to your manager, get approval, check if their vision or their positioning aligns before you guys can get into a partnership. So yes, collaboration is better for both parties. It's better for the economy because of the kind of services you give to them. And I think at the end of the day, it shows other people what's possible. So yeah.
Thank you so much for that and for that distinction. I'm going to go with OA. So one key feature we have noticed with the digital economy is that it is like feeding itself in a way, it's sustaining itself. And one of the reasons why that is that a lot of creators are now giving jobs to other creators, right? So for instance, you in your creative line of work, you could hire a videographer or an editor. So that way the creator economy is growing. So I wanted you to touch on that a bit as a content creator, how that affects your work, or other examples that you have seen of how the digital economy is growing itself by providing job opportunities from one creator to another creator.
Okay, thank you. That was a very nice question. Yeah, that's very true. The creator economy is indeed growing itself because no man is an island. There is only so much you can do on your own. Of course, when you start out maybe with your phone. You have a ring light, so you use lightning from your window or something like that. You begin your journey. At a particular point in time, the demand for what you're producing or what you're giving out has increased, and you need to increase the quality of your content. There's only so much you can do by yourself. Say you're trying to do a vlog in another country and you're doing a vlog with other people, maybe you travel. By the time you have your camera and you cannot record yourself and also accurately describe whatever it is that you're doing at the same time because it's going to be difficult. So what do? You hire a videographer to take care of every aspect of getting the content down for you so that you can focus on other things and make sure that things are done the way they have to be done. For instance, I have a PA. Sometimes, depending on whatever it is that because I just there's so many things I am doing that I cannot focus on every single thing at once. So because of the, let's say, level that I've gotten to, I need to delegate some of the tasks that I am handling to someone else because it's just impossible to get them done all by myself if I want to maintain the quality of what I am doing. So when you look at the most famous creators or the most popular ones also, this is something that you see in their line of work also. Take for instance, Ali Abdal on YouTube or Mr. Beast, Mr. Who's the Boss. Most of them, when they started out alone in their rooms and stuff like that. But at this particular time, some people have built entire companies around it and gone on to build even companies that are under their brand, because that's how big they've gotten, or that's how big that it has become. I feel like the economic the creator verse on its own is still in its baby stages, if you will. I don't think we've seen how crazy it can become or how impactful the potential of it can be, because when you look at it from all aspects or all angles, there is a lot going on for it. For instance, if you were to want to advertise your product on the traditional media compared to digital marketing or digital media, the amount of money that you would spend on maybe a TV or a billboard or something like that is astronomical compared to what you would get if you go the digital marketing route. And now people like to save their money, whether it's businesses, individuals, or whatever it is. People will always go for the, I don't want to say better option, but something that can achieve the same results or even better and spend you less money. Of course, I'm going to invest in that. So people are going to consume. Yes, sorry.
No, that is better.
I mean, I don't want because there's always like a beef between the traditional media and the digital media. So I like to avoid all of that. But people will always go for let's say better option. So yeah, so creators are going to keep on hiring other people to continue working for them. The bigger you become, the more hands you need on deck to make sure that everything that you're doing goes out smoothly, goes out well, and yeah.
Thank you so much. I feel like you really answered that question well. I'm going to go to Mr. Solomon. So with the rise of digital platforms, e-commerce platforms like Seller, and looking to partner with like banks, what are some elements or some features or some things that banks would consider when supporting or partnering with creators and digital businesses?
Thank you. The truth is, just as I've said earlier, a lot of traditional banks are beginning to catch up with the creators economy, right? The gold mine in that space. So, for example, I'm a manager in the bank. I cannot even afford a PA, and OA can afford one. It means the man is way richer than I am. So it's not even about carrying an ID card that you're a banker, right? So I would say a couple of things. Traditional banks, like you would call Wema Bank, for example, would look out for. So, for example, a major focus for a lot of banks now is around inorganic growth. So what banks are beginning to do is to explore how they can build bank agnostic products, right? So they want to build products that are not around the core to look out for. It will be number one, innovation and technology adoption, right? So if we find solutions that are quite innovative, that of course can solve, local problems. The most important thing is being able to immediately solve this problem in this economy, right? That's one. I would say another major thing a lot of banks will look out for, organizations like ours, will be around compliance and regulation. There's a lot around the e-commerce business. So, for example, I'm building an escrow solution, right? That allows both buyers and sellers stay comfortable consummating transactions, right? And if you take that kind of solution to CBN, they would frown at it, saying a bank shouldn't be involved in that kind of transaction, right? So a lot of banks are beginning to look out for platforms like Seller, for example, providing core solution, right? However, they're able to stay in line with regulations and compliance, right? I think another thing organizations like ours would also look out for will be around scalability and growth. For us, for example, Wema Bank built the first fully digital bank in Africa, and we have about 5 million, customers today on our alert digital banking solution. And so for us, we want to scale. When we find platforms that can help us encroach a certain ecosystem, right? So you say you have 2 million active transacting customers on Seller today. We're happy to throw both our money, our infrastructure, our name behind whatever you're doing, right? And I think a final one, right, will be that solutions that are also providing future driven features, right? I recall that 2 years ago or 3 years ago, there's one startup called Carrot or something in the UK or US that raised about 32 million USD, and the central thought about those guys were that they were building a bank for creators, right? I think eventually they failed or whatnot, right? So organizations like us are always looking forward to product owners or platforms that can begin to look into the future, because whether you like it or not, things are evolving, things are changing. These guys are very bullish. So we're looking forward to organizations who can think about what the future is saying around the creators economy. And I can tell you for free, banks like ours were eagerly happy to jump on collaborations that would tick some of these boxes. I'm not sure if I'll get a chance to say this again, but I like to say that, for example, we've been internally at Wema Bank, and this was one of the reasons why we're able to quickly jump on this collaboration. At Wema Bank, we've been looking at ways we can sort of encroach the creators economy ecosystem. So, for example, we see a lot of gaps around financial education and advisory, right? How can we build a personal finance management tool for a creator to help you manage your money, give you advisory where you can invest into and all of that? And it's not like a case of a bait where they want to take in your money for advising you, right? So we've been looking at ways we can, collaborate, that would benefit an OA, right? So those are some of the things organizations like ours are looking out for.
Thank you so much. I feel like that was very extensive. I love the fact that you mentioned value. I think value is really core to a lot of what we do in the ecosystem, and scalability as well. So that was really, really, really nicely put. I'm going to move to Yai. So when I asked Oye a question, I asked him about how a lot of digital creators are starting to employ more staff to help with their work. So I'm going to ask you, as a business strategist, what should creators look into when they're trying to like manage or expand their team? What are some factors to consider? What's the right way to do it? What's the wrong way to do it? So that the creators who are listening will not make mistakes.
Okay, thank you for that. So I'm gonna use the business strategist hat and then the general manager one. So I used to be a general manager at a Burger King a while ago. So what I'll say is, I think creators need to stop looking at the digital business as a digital business, because I think that's where the confusion will come in. As soon as you say it's a digital business, you feel like, oh, it's just a business there. But look at it as a normal, proper business. And if you even want to be more specific, look at it as an assembly line business, right? What I mean by that is, if you take a 16-year-old, a 14-year-old, or a 17-year-old inside a McDonald's or a Burger King, they will make you a burger. And the burgers will go out really, really fast and people will buy fast. So if you're a creator, think of your business that way. How can I bring people in that they will make sure that content goes out? Because you need content. Content is what's going to sustain you. So before you do that, how McDonald's or the Burger Kings do it is they have an operations manual. It may take a while, but you need to sit down and create your operations manual. You need to sit down and create your SOPs, your standard operating procedures, right? So that anybody that you bring in there, because you're going to expand. And the thing that we don't like doing is sitting down and showing somebody how we want it to be done. But when they don't do it well, we get annoyed. So to avoid all of that, create all of these systems in place so that you can get people in and then you will concentrate on the bigger work, which is the strategy work. So that's what I would recommend.
Thank you so much for that. So I'm going to go back to Douglas. So I wanted to ask, what are some success stories you could share on the reach and impact of the digital creator economy, given your job or your role as the founder of Seller? Some success stories or some trends that you could share with us.
We have a lot. We have over like 100,000 creators today, and I think that's very impactful for us to just see so many creators that at least put up their products to sell, and many of them have actually sold. I think I'll try to pick up like a few. I'll try to give a few examples. So we did publish. I mean, this is something that I guess is more your team, because you guys write a lot of. We have a lot of these stories on our blog, by the way. If you go through a blog, just look for. If you go to a blog, you'll see a ton of this, and I want to pick one, which would be the story about like a final year student that recorded her course on hair making with just her phone and her tripod, and she made, I think, over like 500K in the first month. And this is not even just about like how much you make in the first month, because it might not be the same across, but again, with like proper marketing, you can definitely reach more and more people. And that's really how impactful this can be. I don't know if you guys see a lot of these interviews that have been going around with Trudy. He's been interviewing a ton of like celebrities and telling very in-depth stories and asking them very in-depth questions. He actually started out selling, because what he wanted to do was he wanted to do interviews, but he also didn't want to do it for free, because I have actually been at one of those sets. They're expensive. Everything is so it costs money. And he was trying to do a subscription using like Vimeo, and Nigerians couldn't pay for it. He couldn't even collect his audiences. And then he came to Seller, and now he sells the subscriptions at different prices because we support multi-currency payments, and he has access to his audience list. He's now also making more subscriptions and using our like our membership platform. We have people that sell like ebooks. We have I think one of a very interesting story internally that we discussed was this creator that, so typically a lot of people like Google, so when they want to get into like the wholesale business for like importing in China, they sort of like Google and go to and get list of like wholesalers, or go to one of the sites, and that's how they get their importing. So this lady, however, she went to China, and her offer to people was, I am in China physically, I'm going through manufacturing stores myself, and I will give you a list of actually the best price that you will not even find online. And she had a lot of people paying almost like 100K, 250K, 350K for her list. It took a lot of work doing that, but just unique stories. And I think the final one I'll probably just go with is, I have a creator, Adering Sola. She sells Notion templates, and she's not the only one I've seen sell Notion templates. Like templates about like how to plan like your life, or templates about like how to plan your work, or templates of like your website. And these are the use cases when it comes to like digital products are really limitless. And that's really what I love about like the industry that we're in. It really is not confined. I think when a lot of people think of digital products, they think like ebooks, courses, trainings, but there's so many things that you can monetize. There's so many trainings you can monetize. There's so many packages and digital creator things that you can actually sell. And I'm really hoping that more people listening, we will reach more people, and more people just know that there's so much value that they can share.
Thank you so much, Douglas. So I'm going to go to OA. I feel like a pain point that a lot of creators, being a creator myself, encounter is money, right? How to move money, how to get paid. Monetization in general, especially when it's trans-border, can be very tricky. So I wanted to ask, what challenges have you encountered? Feel free to share stories. And how can financial institutions like Wema Bank ease the process of monetization? Because at the end of the day, we want a situation whereby everyone collaborates and everyone makes the lives of others easier. So what ways can financial institutions ease the process of monetization for creators?
Thank you. So apart from being a content creator, I actually run a startup with my friend. It's like a digital marketing startup. We handle influencer marketing, content strategy, the OSHA Bank for brands and individuals. So sometimes, recently actually, we had to pay a particular creator in Europe, and I I can't believe how difficult that was. Just trying to send is like trying to send money from uh Nigeria here from on behalf of the client, the creator, to create a video and then have it to us. We had to do a whole merry-go-round. There was a time I had to work with a client and they wanted to send money, and the only way we could eventually get the money across was using crypto. I had to sign up, send them my TRC center address, then they had to use that to convert whatever the money on there into crypto, sent to me. I then had to convert that, sell it on Binance to convert that to Naira to finally get to me. I don't think it should be that difficult. It did not used to be that difficult. And I mean, if you're following the news in Nigeria, I think it's not really the bank's fault. I don't think they want to do that. I mean, recently I was in Cape Town and I was not aware that Provido's their Naira Mastercard was actually working. I didn't know that. So I actually lost some amount of money because I traveled with physical dollars because I did not know that the card was going to work. So it's quite difficult to move money across out of Nigeria actually, and even receiving. And when PayPal came to Nigeria, I think it's even to date, you cannot receive money with your PayPal account. You can only spend. It's way too difficult. I don't know why exactly. So I feel like if there's one thing the financial institutions, I mean, Wema Bank is here, that they can help with in the creator economy is to ease the transaction in and outside of Nigeria to be able to pay for services for other creators, to be able to receive payment for your own service as a creator. Like he said earlier, I think it's going to go a long way to help everybody. I mean, yeah, the creator economy might not be as big as oil or agriculture or whatever, but in its own right, as we're all looking for dollar in the country, it's going to help a bit.
Thank you so much. I actually wanted to ask Mr. Solomon to give a comment, but I think he left the call. And so when he gets back, I'll ask him to give a comment to that. Thank you so much, OA. So I'm just going to go to Yai. So as creators and as businesses, it appears that a key element that we need to like succeed is consistency, right? We need to be consistent with the content we put out. You said it earlier that even when getting a team, you need to be consistent with content being put out, right? So but then there's still a lot going on. There's a lot going on, right? We're constantly trying to like evolve, trying to create new content, trying to explore new platforms. I remember when Threads was a thing for like 2 days, and everybody joined Threads, and everybody was creating an account.
Yeah.
So, like, how do you maintain like consistency within that whole madness? To say, as a business or as a creator.
Okay. So what I'll say is, as somebody who has I have a full-time job, I do client work, and I create content almost every day. Like you will not see me post. If I don't post on my feed, I'll post on my stories. And the way that I stay consistent, this is a hack that I want to give everybody is whatever that I talk about, I talk about storytelling, launching, and content, right? So whatever you talk about, 3 or 4 things, write it down. So how I go about it is instead of when I'm ready to write, I start thinking about, oh, I'm going to write a carousel or a short form content that's really short. I write really long form content. So I'll just open a Google Doc and I'll dump everything that I want to talk about on a certain topic. It can be 5, 6, 10 pages, however long. I don't limit myself. So how that helps me is when I'm ready to come back to that and I edit it, I can take out some bits and record an audio for a podcast. I can take out some bits and do a YouTube video. I can take out some bits and create 4 to 5 carousels or tweets or whatever it is. So, and it works for me. So it works for me. I'm really, really busy, but I'm always posting. So that's a hack that I will give creators. But I wanted to add something to the question that you gave to Oye, because I have a pain point. My audience is mostly in Africa, but I live in the UK. And I struggle a lot to get my money. If there's something that the financial institutions can help with is ease of people over here getting their money when they get paid. I think if that's one wish that I wish can be fulfilled. It takes a lot of hassle or a lot of middlemen before like I get the money that I've worked hard for. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Yay. So I want to throw the question I asked you back to OA, then I'll ask Mr. Solomon to like answer our questions. So OA, we noticed that you're very consistent. You post like almost every day. How do you do that? What works for you?
Okay, so I think everyone has their process and what works. I really like Yai's idea because in that way you can repurpose the content for several platforms, and you are not even as busy as you can be. You can use that whenever you have an issue coming up with something on the spot. But for me, I find I actually made sure it was part of my routine for the day. When I wake up in the morning, I shoot whatever I feel like I want to post that day. But the way my content works is because it can range from anything at all, anything I find interesting, and I think might be relatable, might be funny, might be able to help someone, something depending on whatever it is. So when I'm up in the morning, I write down whatever it is I want to put out. Just because when I want to subtitle it, I just copy and paste it instead of having to type all over again. Um, so I shoot in the morning when I'm back from the gym and my workstation. I edit and I have the contents down ready to post. But recently, I've been doing that. I think I've streamlined my process enough that it doesn't feel like a chore again. And I think that that's something that a lot of people have a problem with or an issue with. Whatever it is, whenever it feels like a chore, you will not essentially enjoy doing it. Now I already I'm in front of my camera. I do whatever I want to do. Turn on the lights. Turn on the lights. When I'm done, I just copy my presets, put on it, edit it. I'm done in like 15 minutes. It's a lot of work, but it took a lot of time to get there. Where it just feels like second nature. I can do it with my eyes closed. I think that's just essentially everything. But you can try. I mean, since you're trying to help other creators, everybody can try out their hands at one method or the other and see what they like. I like the idea of having something down. Oh, and I think having something that is actually really beautiful because what I intend on posting today, I probably wrote it down like a week or so ago, but I never used it. But like today, I was just blank and I was like, oh, sure, I have this in my vault, and then I just took that and I made that, and yeah, so.
Thank you. I think it feels like an antithesis, but then what I'm learning is that creating requires discipline. So even though being a creator means that you're like, so your head's in the clouds, like people tend to think that's what it means, but it also requires a certain level of discipline to succeed or to put yourself out there. So thank you so much for that. So I'm going to go back to Mr. Solomon. We actually have 4 minutes, but Mr. Solomon, I wanted to ask you, please help our lives as creators. How can we send money? How can we send money abroad? How can we receive money from abroad? Like, what are the banks doing? Why is it an issue? And how can it become better? Thank you.
I mean, so I'll tell you for free as an insider, outsider. It's a regulation issue, right? Cross-border payment is a major regulation issue. So I'm sure some of you may be aware at some point, I think in July, August, Wema Bank opened up our cards, right? And said, your alert card, use it everywhere from, whatever you want to use, Alibaba and all of that. We needed to take that call because we realized that 67% of our customers are below the age of 25. And some of these guys consummate this kind of transaction. There's no point banking people you cannot provide services for. So just the way OA expressed his frustration, even bankers do the same thing, right? So it's a struggle having to unhold the regulators around this. Some of us know solutions we can provide. So, for example, my team, the innovation team at Wema Bank, we're currently working on a product leveraging blockchain technology where people can consummate cross-border payment. Because the truth is, it will never go. The reality is, whether CBN wants to push e-Naira or they want to push F-Naira, whatever it is they want to push, right? Digital currency has come to stay, and this is the only sustainable way people like OA can consummate transactions. So because of the myopic way they see it, they feel, oh, people just want to get money in. There are other use cases where people want to push money out to, right? And I can tell you, it may take time, but we'll get there, right? So a lot of banks like Wema Bank, like Providus, they're already pushing against the tide, and some of those banks get slammed with charges when they do those kind of things. When they tell you use your MasterCard in UK, use your MasterCard in South Africa, and all of that, right? I think that's the comment for that. Aside that, I also feel like banks then need to be more responsive to creators. So I'll tell you an example of some of the things I think the bank should do. For example, banks should begin to provide access to capital, right, to creators, right? You want to buy, ring lights, you want to buy cameras of about 7 million naira. You shouldn't use your money, because if, for example, I bank someone like OA, I can see his consistent inflow, and I can say, I'm going to give you 10 million naira to buy a solid camera that will make your work, seamless, right? And you will pay back in 36 months. And you won't even feel it, right? Aside that, I also feel banks need to begin to look into venture capital and equity investing, right, into creators. The truth is, people don't invest in companies, they invest in people, right? So if you find a young man who is a passionate creator, let's invest in the guy. Let's take the guy across Europe to go and shoot videos, to create content, because we know. And you see, this is what the likes of Kola Oyeneye has done with Black Book. Kola Oyeneye, Shubomi, Ezra of those world. This is what they've done with the Black Book investment. And I mean, very, very successful investment. I think 2 or 3 more things banks should begin to look at: customized financial solutions. They need to begin to look at creators and say, can we give you like a bespoke banking solution that works for you, right? You're not a 9-to-5 guy. You're not the guy that gets money maybe every other month, right? But we know when you get the money, you get solid money. And I think on a final note, banks need to begin to explore areas where they can open up, creators to networks and resources, right? For example, the federal government of Nigeria is doing a whole lot with this digital economy and creators economy. The truth is, they cannot do it alone. So I got an email from Seller. So what I want to do, for example, is to introduce Seller to the Ministry of Digital Economy. Let's have a tripartite conversation. What can we do together? Because they will rather listen to a Douglas than listen to me. Creators will listen to Douglas than listen to me, right? Maybe it sounds like them, it looks like them, they feel like, this guy will not rob me, right? So there's a lot of work banks can do around collaboration, partnership, and being able to position bespoke financial services to creators.
Thank you, Mr. Solomon. So I wanted to ask people who are listening, if you have any questions, we're about to close, but you can just take a few questions. So please leave your questions in the comment box so we can take them. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to share, or any closing words, any closing remarks?
You people should come and bank with us. Wait, let's talk about how to make your life easy. So on a serious note, I know people assume Wema Bank is the bank for the old and all of that. And honestly, I'm not in marketing or retail. It is not my business to market whoever, right? People are paid to do this, but the truth is, the bank is doing a lot with the young people. For example, we're giving out about 50 million to techpreneurs across 12 universities in Nigeria, right? Under our colleagues, right? So there's a lot of attention the bank is paying to young people. And even with this conversation, I'm beginning to look at how can we deliberately look at this ecosystem. There's a lot that can happen. So for example, the transfer OA wanted to make, if I was involved, I'm going to go through my treasury department and I'm going to tell them, can you circumvent any bullshit process and allow this guy deal his transaction and move on? So all OA will do is to send an email and would ensure it is done. So you won't start calling somebody to send money to PayPal, or you send money through crypto and they start tracking your account and they say, oh, you're using your account for fraud and anti-money laundering and all of that. So there's a lot the bank can do. I'm personally committed to seeing what we can do with Seller, right? And extensively the creators economy. But again, let's have conversations. Let's see what we can do together. And we're hoping we're able to make magic together. I'm not selling the bank. I'm just, earning my 2K for the month.
You actually sound like you're selling the bank and you're selling it well. Someone said Wema Bank is doing well for the youth, and then someone else is complaining about your charges. So would you like to say anything about that?
do we really want to make this conversation about that?
Thank you, Douglas. Thank you, Douglas. Thank you, Douglas.
Let them reach out to customer service.
100%. I agree.
Okay, well, I really had an amazing time. I learned so much from speaking with all of you. Before we leave, there's one question that says, how can young creators access funds to scale their creative business? So I think that question is directed towards Solomon. Does Wema Bank have anything in place to cater to young creators who need funds?
Absolutely, we do. We have a couple of partnerships with Bank of Industry. There's about a 3 billion fund for MSMEs, broken into different categories, right? Specifically for young creators, yes, if you're able to show us what you're doing and if it is fundable, absolutely. There are a couple of things the bank does today, funding movies, right? But in a very subtle manner. So there are funds. This woman is really at this charges thing. We're sorry. We'll fix it. Go fix it. Fix it. Yeah. So the answer is yes. There are funds for creators.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. I think this is the end of this space. It was wonderful speaking with you. Yeah, I agree with you, AY, as well. We should look at fintech companies doing more for the creator economy. I think many of them are doing a lot for the creator economy. And hopefully, in the long run, we're going to see a lot more of that. So thank you, Douglas. Thank you, Solomon. Thank you, Yai. Thank you, OA. And have a wonderful evening. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Please keep using Seller. We love you. Till the next space. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Hey Siri, how do I make money as a digital creator? How can I make money from my creativity? What's the best cost hosting platform in Africa?
To do that, you'll need to be online.